Hi, welcome to Africa in Perspective. My name's Nelda, and I discuss African affairs Mondays through Fridays. So, somebody asked me in the comments section a couple videos ago, and they said, what exactly does Africa bring to the table? So, we're trying to demand respect because clearly people have negative stereotypes about Africa. People have so many myths about what we can offer as a continent. And in this video, I want to address that specific question. What exactly does Africa have to offer to the world? Now, I can already sense people say, well, we don't have to offer anything to the world. No, we actually do. We share this planet with other people. And of course, people typically say, okay, countries like China, for example, and Asia, they're really, really good when it comes to technology. The United States is also doing great when it comes to technology. All these countries are advancing multiple fields in the world, particularly in STEM, so like science, technology, and mathematics. So what exactly are we bringing to the table? Now, obviously, the argument is going to go multiple ways. But the reason I want you to watch this video, the value that I'm proposing to you is, number one, you are going to learn so much about Africa that you didn't know, because you may know that Africa has a lot of resources, but you may not know to what level exactly those resources are. And then the other thing is, this will help you shift your own narrative about the continent and how you relate to it. Because if you are African, this will give you some sense of pride to know that there is actually something we bring to the table, and you can tap into actually those resources that we already have. And if you're non-African, this could also help you with the way you relate to Africans, because you'd start thinking, okay, actually, it's not that these people are lazy, as we have been termed, that, oh, this lazy African stereotype, but there's actually so many things that we bring to the table. So let's just dive right in. The very first thing, like I said in the introduction, is minerals. Everybody knows minerals. Everybody talks about African minerals. Now, obviously, with diamonds, that is the most popular one, I would argue, in my opinion. 60% of all the diamonds in the world come from Africa, and the leading countries are South Africa and Botswana. And diamonds are used, of course, in jewelry, so you get one and you live happily ever after, apparently. And in industry as well, with drilling tools, because diamonds are the hardest natural occurring minerals. And then also in electronics as thermal conductors. You have gold. 30% of the gold in the world comes from Africa, and say it with me, South Africa and Ghana are the leading countries. And again, gold is used in jewelry, it's used in investments, so people back their investments against gold. There have been talks about currencies being backed against gold and all that. And then electronics as well as dentistry. Some people like having gold teeth. Yeah. And then platinum. 70% of all the platinum in the world comes from Africa. And again, say it with me, South Africa and Zimbabwe are the leading countries in terms of platinum. And again, platinum is used in jewelry. So you have a platinum ring with a diamond that is, you're living the African dream, apparently. And electronics, as well as medical tools and catalytic converters, which are in cars. Then there is cobalt as well. 70% of all the cobalt in the world comes from the DRC. Speaking of the DRC, very unique country. 60% of all the coltan in the world also comes from the DRC. Coltan is used in capacitors in your smartphones and electronic devices. And cobalt is used in rechargeable batteries. So like things like electrical vehicles, they need to be charged constantly instead of having to fill fuel all the time. Manganese, 33% of all the manganese in the world comes from Africa. The leading countries are, say it with me again, South Africa. By the way, because we're going to be mentioning South Africa so many times in this video, I've offered a petition before to change South Africa's name because I think it's very boring and it's too descriptive. We should give, and I thought there were talks about this, like to change South Africa's name to is it Azania or Mzansi? I vote from Mzansi. I'm not South African, but I vote from Mzansi because Azania sounds too much like Tanzania, and I'm not about to have that confusion. Thank you. Anyways, let's continue. Manganese, 33%, South Africa and Gabon. Manganese is used in steel production. Steel is very important in construction. Makes metals stronger, apparently. Batteries, as well as fertilizers. And there is also chromium. 50% of all the chromium in the world. Again, Africa, South Africa, again, leads. Stainless steel, used in alloys as well. Alloys is when you're mixing metals to make a stronger metal mix, essentially, and as well as other chemical industries, you can use chromium as well in them. There's phosphate rock. 75% of all the phosphate rock in the world comes from the beautiful country of Morocco. Phosphate is used in fertilizers and other agriculture chemicals as well. I'm not done, by the way. Bauxite, 25% of all the bauxite in the world. That is a quarter, guys. There is 195 countries in the world, yeah? One of them produces a quarter of all the bauxite in the world. You guys are playing with Africa. And the country is Guinea. And speaking of Guinea, because I'm chiming in with my opinions here, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea, Equatorial Guinea, what is going on in that little situation? Two of you need to change the name. That's just my personal opinion. Next, uranium. 20% of all the uranium in the world is from Africa, and Niger and Namibia are the leading two countries. And uranium, if you want to bomb somebody, you may need uranium. We don't bomb people. That's the other thing as well, yeah? We're very peaceful people. To be fair, yeah, there's a lot of conflicts going on in Africa, but we just do not care enough to develop missiles. Although, would they allow us? By they, I mean the powers that be. Anyways, and I saved the best for the last, guys. 100% of all the tanzanite in the world comes from Africa, and it all comes from Tanzania. To be fair, I was so disappointed because as a Tanzanian, I've grown up my whole life thinking Tanzania is the best country in the world and we have everything except snow. And then I was doing research for this video, and Tanzania was nowhere to be seen. So I was very much hurt. But we are the only country in the world with tanzanite, which is why the metal was named after the mineral was named after us. It's absolutely gorgeous. I actually have one here. Let me show you. It's very pale because give me money and I'll get a darker one. But I love tanzanites. I think they're absolutely gorgeous. When you get a really dark one, c'est magnifique. Now, that's not the only area that Africa has a lot of resources in. We're also absolutely fantastic when it comes to agriculture and food. Like shea butter, 90% of all the shea butter in the world comes from Africa. And it obviously comes from the shea belt, like Nigeria, Ghana, Burkina Faso, Mali, that area. And Nigeria itself carries the globe. 53% of all the shea butter. Thank Nigeria. 70% of all the cocoa in the world comes from Africa, and Ghana and Ivory Coast lead. Speaking of Ivory Coast, you also need to change your name. I'm not happy with Ivory Coast. That's too descriptive. Like, oh, it's the coast with ivory. No. And I also don't like Cote d'Ivoire because it's just French. You need to come up with another name. Thank you. Cocoa is used in chocolates, of course, and confectionery industry. Now the thing is, I said this in my other video, the fact that we import chocolate does not sit comfortable with me. Like as a continent, we also import salt, we import toothpicks. I went into all that shebang in the other video. But I think this is just, again, it goes to show that we have the resources to industrialize. I'm going to go into it later on towards the end of the video, but we have the resources to industrialize. Like 70% of all the cocoa in the world comes from Africa. Do you know how much power we hold? We could decide to shut down the whole chocolate industry if we wanted to. Coffee, 10% of all global exports come from Africa and Ethiopia and Uganda. Ethiopia actually is the birthplace of Arabica coffee, so literally they are the coffee people. Tea. Now, guys, when I was doing my research, tell me why I found out that the world's leading tea exporter, the one country that exports the most tea, is an African country. And you're not going to believe. Before I say what country it is, you guys have to comment. Lock in your guess right now. Because I was flabbergasted. I was bamboozled. I was jaw dropped. It is Kenya. Guys, it's Kenya. Tell me why I didn't know this. In my mind, again, I would have guessed Tanzania before I would have guessed Kenya, but Kenya exports 20% of all the tea in the world. Do you know how major that is? Absolutely fantastic. Kenya also exports cut flowers. So basically roses, they lead in roses. Like 35% of cut flowers in the world come from Africa. And Kenya leads in roses. And basically on Valentine's Day, Kenya could decide that your girlfriend might not be getting flowers. So you better put some respect on Kenya's name. Cashews, Cote d'Ivoire leads in Africa, and 50%-ish or so of cashew nuts in the world come from Africa. And of course, Nigeria and Tanzania are right down there. Tanzania made it to the top 3, guys. I have to mention it. And then gum Arabic, 70% comes from Sudan. It's used in food stabilizers. It's used in beverages. It's used in pharmaceuticals. Love. And then sardines, 20% of all the sardines come from Morocco. Do you guys see all of that? It's already like, I'm almost done with my time. I haven't even gone into my little rant, but I love this so much. And this is just a little section, but there's so much untapped potential in the continent. And I want you guys to remember that. Now, did you guys notice that there are certain countries I didn't mention? So I didn't mention Djibouti, Comoros, Rwanda, Lesotho, Eswatini, Mauritius, Cape Verde, Seychelles, the Gambia. These are countries that are fairly not known, and if you're from any of those countries, please just comment. I want to know that there's at least people from these countries that exist. Now, what stood out to me is Mauritius and Seychelles, because they're the 2 leading countries in GDP per capita PPP, you take the GDP that a country earns, like, so how much a country earns, you divide it by the number of people, and then you adjust it to how much things cost in a country. Seychelles and Mauritius are the top, but they're some of the most resource poor countries in Africa. But look at how they've been able to make something of themselves. So even though I'm covering this, it's something to be proud of, to walk away and be like, yeah, we're actually doing a great job. But shouldn't rely on resources alone to make something of ourselves in the world. Sure, we're bringing all this to the table and saying, notice us, we're here, we're contributing something to the world, but there is so much more we can do, including industrialization. Now I'm running out of time. I want to keep these videos nice and short for you guys, but this gives you something to think about. So let's think outside of natural resources. Sure, we have them, we're going to be so proud of them, but let's do more than that. Let's consider industrializing them, because right now what is happening, we have all these natural resources and raw materials, we're exporting them, other people are manufacturing them and producing them and then bringing them back to us, and we buy them back. Like shea butter, we sell shea butter. Some people make makeup and skincare tools and then sell them back to us. Do you get what I'm saying here? So we're going to talk about this a little bit more in another video, but for this video specifically, I wanted to cover the resources just to have, so you can have this rough idea of how rich the African continent is, and the fact that we are actually producing so much for the world, and we can produce more, but we need to be able to acknowledge even the little that we've done so far. So hopefully this was a nice and short video for you. Hopefully it was useful. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and you will see me in the next video. Bye.